And your birthday?
Birthday is August 13, 1917.
1917.
And you want to go to my parents?
Yeah.
My father was Frank William English. He was born in the same place I was born.
Okay. In San Jose?
Yes.
What year was he born?
Well, I think he was listed, at least at the latest I heard, Cupertino.
Okay. What year?
October 9th, 1892.
Really?
Try to get that.
Close to my birthday. And your mom?
Yes, you're the 8th.
Yeah.
He was the 9th, and Verna was the 11th.
Wow.
All in a row there.
And tell me about your mother a little bit.
Well, my mother was born in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And she was born in 1891. She was a year older than my father. And her mother and father came from Germany. And the mother died in 1908, and the father died in 1910. So my mother was just a teenager when they died.
How did your parents meet?
How'd they meet?
Uh-huh.
I guess my father came to San Francisco with a friend that he had in the area. I don't know. I think everybody in the family knew his name, I think. But and the friend was coming to San Francisco, and he had a date with this friend, and he was going to bring Frank English along, and could she get a date for him? So my Aunt Louise got the date with my mother, and that's how we met.
So the farm
date.
boy went to the city.
Yeah.
Took the train to the San Francisco and met her there.
She was raised in San Francisco and moved to the ranch where they didn't have any modern facilities. And
how'd that work out, going from the city to a farm, a ranch?
I remember my mother saying they, of course, had to use the outhouse there.
Uh-oh.
and every time she'd go out to the outhouse, after she'd get in, the darn big turkey would come
and block the door.
And my mother wasn't used to being around turkeys.
Oh my
turkeys
gosh.
like that. She'd stay in there for quite a while till somebody came to rescue her.
Did you have electricity?
I guess they had electricity in the house. I don't know.
Yeah. What did you do for refrigeration?
They didn't have any refrigeration. There wasn't such a thing in those days.
The Graves land became the English's land. And then what year did they move off of the ranch and go into town?
They kept the ranch, but they moved into town, I think, in 1920.
Oh, okay. So you were 3 years old?
I was just 3 years old. I wasn't living there. After I was born there, but I think we lived in Los Gatos and Campbell, and
okay. So you didn't live on the land then, except
they kept the. I really don't know the story, but I think they thought they were selling the ranch in 1920, and they were going to move into town, and the ranch the sale didn't go through. But and I think one of the reasons was by that time Verna was in school,
mm-hmm.
and I guess they felt it was easier having her in school in town rather than because Moreland School was quite a ways from the house.
So
they didn't have school buses in those days.
Oh. Did you walk?
I don't know how they got there. Maybe they hitched up the... No, I think I think my grandfather had a car, an open air one.
Oh, a convertible?
You didn't call them convertibles in those days. It was an open air taxi.
Now, how old were you when your father died?
3.
Oh, you were 3. Okay.
I guess I was going on 4.
Mm-hmm. Well, that must have been tough.
So that,
wow. So then, is that when your mother, did she move back to San Francisco?
Yes. So then she decided to go back to San Francisco, where she had she had a brother and a sister there. So we went there, and my uncle came to live with her, and my aunt came and lived with her. And so my mother cooked for them. They were kind of like boarders.
So they kept an eye on you and...
Well, no, she could stay home with me.
Oh, okay.
She stayed home with me, and she had they paid room and board. And,
oh, right. Okay.
I think she did the washing and whatnot, all on the scrub board and all.
Oh, my gosh.
But that was...
So that was... What was her last name?
Her maiden name?
Uh-huh.
Schmitz.
Schmitz? And so this was a brother that moved in with her?
Yes, she had one bachelor brother who was, I guess it was when he came back from serving in the army in World War I. That was about right after he came back. Then he lived with her, and then my aunt was living with kind of. She had a room with a kitchenette and whatnot, but she gave that up and she came and lived with us.
Wow.
My aunt was, she was the boss.
Tell me about diphtheria. When was it?
I don't
Epidemic?
know. I don't know. I think it was in the late 1890s someplace.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, but sometime along the way, my mother was shipped up north to a town near Portland to live with her mother's sister. And she was married, and they had no children.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother spent, I don't know, she was up there for a few years. And I think she liked it there.
Yeah.
She was his only child and got spoiled.
Yes, that helps.
But she was back in San Francisco at the time of the earthquake. So.
Now tell me about the earthquake, 1906, right?
1906, yeah.
So you do you remember your mom talking about the earthquake?
She didn't talk much about it. Her mother had an aunt who lived in San Francisco, and they lived up on the hill out. My mother where they lived was on Market Street, right down about where Van Ness Avenue came in, and they took the brunt of the earthquake and the fire, both.
Wow.
And I guess my mother came out with practically nothing. My aunt did grab some sheet music.
Well, yeah, whatever is
very important stuff. She grabbed the sheet music, and the mother and the 2 girls were to go up the hill and live with the aunt, and the boys all went, and the father went out to the park.
Oh, camped? They camped out?
And camped in the park.
Wow.
And my mother thought that would have been a lot nicer rather than going up to Thomas Stahl's place.
How long did they wind up camping in the park?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
So going back to German school, your mom went to, did all the kids go to German school?
I guess all of them, because she was the next to the youngest. I guess they all went to the German school. It was at St. Paulus Lutheran Church. And I think that's still in existence. And
Was that in addition to American school? Or
I think that
instead?
was just the lower grades. And I'm not sure. I don't know where she went to high school. She did. By that time, she was. See, by that time they were living out in the Richmond, so I don't. She must have gone to a school out there. How would she get into town?
When you went back to San Francisco with her, and she had the boarders, at some point did she go back to work?
Yes, she did. So then she went to Magnus, and what she was doing really it was like having a little store in the alteration department. And when the fitters would come to get some things for that, and the sewers they'd come to get the things they needed to sew on the garments. And
did she do any sewing herself?
I guess when she was younger she did, but later on she didn't. I picked up a lot of things from some of her friends who were in the alteration department.
Oh, handy, yeah.
They'd show me how to do different things on sewing and all.
So you like to sew?
So that's basically how. But I gave that up entirely.
Did you used to knit?
I did knitting. I think I made a Christmas sock for you, didn't I?
Well, you know what? I think I
made Christmas socks. I know I made an awful lot of Argyle socks that your grandfather ended up with.
I hang this up every year. Was this it? That's the one I think that you made for me when I was little. I have a picture of me sticking my face inside, looking down into it.
Well, it looks kind of like it, but I thought I put the names on all of them.
Yeah, I think this. Oh yeah, here's Martha.
Oh.
And then Bob had one. Bob's is named shorter, so it's easier to see.
I think that's.
I think you did.
I know I made an awful lot of those.
Tell me about your school years. What kind of hobbies did you do? Did you do sports? Did girls do sports back then?
Yeah, I guess all through high school I took after school sports, and my sport was swimming. You'd never know it today. But I just swimming, and I was on the swimming team, and I had my Red Cross life-saving thing.
Wow.
And I wouldn't even go near the water today, but anyway.
So you were a swimmer. That's great.
I guess the last real swimming I did was in college, and we put on a swimming extravaganza thing, and
oh, like synchronized swimming?
Yeah.
Gosh. Interesting.
Okay. Then I sort of got lazy after that.
So, when you were in school, where did you go to high school?
I went to San Jose High.
So when did you come back to San Jose?
I came back to. That I really don't know how that ended up. And I think I had hurt my mother's feelings an awful lot, and my grandparents wanted me to. I guess they were saying all the things that they could do for me that this widow thing who was working and all couldn't. And I was in the 7th grade.
When you went back to San Jose?
I went back to San Jose.
And then you...
and then I went to, at that time it was Roosevelt Junior High.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there I went to San Jose High, and then just went next door to Staib.
And now, how old was Verna? How much?
Verna is 5 years older.
5 years older?
Mm-hmm.
So was it kind of like, even though she was your aunt, was it more like having a big sister?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I remember Verna saying something about an ice box, and it was her job to empty the water from the ice box.
On the back porch, they had an ice box,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when they had the wash trays.
Uh-huh.
We didn't have washing machines or anything then. They had
Scrub boards.
If you had the tub and the rinse water on the other side, and there was an ice box there. If they were having company, or not company, but a family thing, they'd probably get some ice, but usually the things were just put in the cooler,
Mm-hmm.
which we had in the houses, and they were always right at the end of the kitchen sink. It had kind of a screening
For ventilation.
For ventilation to the outside.
Right. Okay. So, did you have a telephone?
Have what?
A telephone?
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah?
had a telephone on the wall.
Yeah.
And by the time I was living there, you didn't have to crank it. He just picked up the receiver.
Was it a party line or a private line?
I think it was a party line.
And you used to have to crank them?
Well, in the old days, yeah, I guess to wake up the operator, I don't know. I never had to do that. But I know that.
So you went to junior high and senior high in San Jose. And can you tell me anything about your high school years? Any dances? Were you in Rainbow?
Yeah, well, that's when I met this young man.
Yes, a photo.
That's,
Okay. And so he was a big football star, looks like.
Yeah, he was.
Even in high school?
That was in high school. Yeah.
This is a high school picture?
Then he got when he graduated, he had a scholarship to Santa Clara. And yeah, they had a good team. That's where they played in the Sugar Bowl.
In the Sugar Bowl?
There's 2 Sugar Bowls, twice.
So you knew him through high school,
Mm-hmm.
and then when he went to Santa Clara, did you go to Santa Clara?
It was a boys' school.
Oh, it was a boys' school. Oh.
So,
So tell me about when he was in the Sugar Bowl. You didn't get to see him or anything, did you?
no, they didn't have television in those days.
What did you
They had a
do?
funny little. But I can remember one New Year's when Floyd and Ruby were there. So Red must have been there because he was only about 12 years old at the time. And we all sat there in front of the radio and listened to the game.
Did you cheer?
And Santa Clara won.
All right, that makes it even better. Now, I know Verna told a story one time. I don't know if you don't want to tell it. That's good. Otherwise, we can edit. But there's something about a whiskey bottle in the kitchen.
Oh, I don't know where we had. Every once in a while, my especially if he went to Grand Lodge.
Grand Lodge, yeah.
Maybe he'd have sort of an attack, so he'd have a snort of whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, then there was a whiskey bottle in the cooler in the kitchen, and I know Bill and I went out. We ransacked the cooler one night.
Uh-oh.
And
Trouble.
we did some sampling. And I think we filled the bottle up with water.
To make it look like nothing was gone. Huh? Did he figure it out?
Nobody ever said anything.
Oh, really? So you didn't get in trouble for that.
Nobody ever said anything.
So your grandparents weren't big drinkers?
No.
Just sippers?
They were teetotalers.
Oh.
But I think on the side he kind of liked to have a little...
Yeah.
For medicinal purposes.
Yeah, it's funny. Ron's family is the same way. They used to make their homemade drinks for medicinal purposes.
Well, I guess that was quite an adjustment for my mother, too, because They're being German. They always had to have their beer.
Yeah.
I don't know that they had much more than the beer, but
yeah.
I know when my uncle was living, when we first moved up there, and I was just a little thing, and his poker guys would come, and they always had to have their beer with them.
Did they make their own?
I don't know. They probably did.
Probably during Prohibition.
Yeah, that was during Prohibition.
Yeah.
So it was probably homebrew.
Did you? How did you stay in touch with your mom when you moved back to San Jose?
Oh, I probably was back in San Francisco maybe at least twice a month.
Okay.
I'd go up there on the weekend. And one of the ladies who worked at Magnan's I think she was one of the sewers in the alteration department. She lived in San